Hello everyone, welcome back to another redesign video and to celebrate my newest RV5 character, Vandal Savage. I did post this in the community page of my YouTube channel and I was like, is this real or is this photoshopped? You decide, and it's fucking real, guys. It's absolutely real. This is a real thing. Whatchamacallit, I am making this video, one, to celebrate him, and also because, raids are happening soon when I record this. So this is some good raid content, probably just to entertain the masses, of course. Also, whatchamacallit, I just really enjoy doing these as a whole. I feel educated by the end of it. I get to go through all this history. It's a good time. I enjoy it. A little bit of a disclaimer, though. I will say that this video is purely for entertainment and fun, and the kit that I design for this character is not real. It is not testable. I cannot bring them into PvP and test this kit. WB is not knocking on my door asking for this kit. However, they may watch this video and get a few ideas from it, and maybe it'll influence a future rework. At least I hope so. Okay, so yeah, and then one other note is that if you enjoy the content that I'm pumping out left and right, please do me a solid, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, check out my Patreon down in the link below, and just enjoy yourself as we move forward from this moment. Let's talk about Vandal Savage. Now, Vandal Savage is an Immortal character, and I really love Immortal characters. Ra's al Ghul, if you've been following me, or you know me personally, or you talk to me in any of the Reddit versus Discords, any of that, you'll know that I'm a big Ra's al Ghul fan. You'll know that I'm a big Vandal Savage and Shazam fan. I really just enjoy immortality as a concept. Obviously, I would love to be immortal. That'd be cool. In the comics, though, it's different because the characters' longevity gives them so many more potential appearances, potential interactions amongst other characters. You know what I mean? Because Vandal Savage is X amount of years old, literally like eons old, he can have interactions from all these extra different characters all over time and space. And that's a big reason why I love immortal characters, because of the potential interactions with so many other characters across the DC timeline. Not only that, but Vandal Savage alone is just a spectacular villain. He kind of has a lot of different iterations, a lot of different power sets. Many of the times his immortality is not perfect, and sometimes it is perfect. And we're kind of base our kit off of that. He does have a few, nemesises, at least one particular. His name is the Immortal Man, who I think's backstory is that he was also like a Neanderthal, a caveman, back in forever ago times. But Savage got the majority of the immortality from the meteorite that exposed them to their immortality, and the Immortal Man, I think, just reincarnates, into the same body and soul every time he dies. Vandal Savage, though, has so many different appearances, and he's getting a lot of screen time lately as well. He was in the very first season of Legends of Tomorrow. He's currently still in Young Justice. They're doing a phenomenal job in Young Justice, fleshing out Vandal Savage. They are doing exactly what I said before. They're showing how he's interacted with all these characters throughout time. He's had multiple different comic series where sometimes he's the villain, sometimes he's a hero. Whatchamacallit. One of my favorite moments of Vandal Savage, I think, is in the Superman Infinity skin that we have is not really the Superman Infinity skin, but it's that skin concept is from a comic book storyline that takes place over millions of years, essentially. Like Superman goes into the sun and like hibernates for like millions and millions of years, and he comes out with this golden skin and is just uber powerful and immortal, essentially. But meanwhile, Vandal Savage is the villain for this little comic series, and it starts out in modern times, and the Titans like find him and combat him in like some Arctic plane, and he like basically single-handedly defeats all of the Titans. He puts the speedsters down with like a sonic device. I think he catches an arrow at one point. He's just a badass. And meanwhile, he's drinking a glass of wine that he doesn't particularly enjoy. And as a bartender, of course, I love my wine. But yeah, so that's a really big moment that I really enjoyed for Savage. Of course, he is defeated in the end, but he still like makes it like 68 million some years in the future, I think, for his plan to fully evolve. But yeah, Savage has so many appearances, even in Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay. Trying to think of another one. I don't know. There's also this outfit right here is from a comic. I'll try and show an image right here from the comic that he's in. It looks really good in the comics. Unfortunately, it does not come out the same in game. So that is our history lesson of Vandal Savage. Let's talk about his powers and abilities. So a lot of the times in these comics, his powers and abilities vary from like pretty heavily. The one commonality is his immortality. The immortality is sometimes it is just innate from this meteorite thing, and sometimes it's apparently an alien technology. He's filled with this like nanomite technology that preserves and rebuilds his body. And then I think the newest iteration is that he's simply immortal due to the mark of Cain, I think given to him by Spectre. In which case, he has a bunch of fun interactions. I think there's one with Ra's al Ghul that I really, really love. Just two like immortal dudes talking to each other about shit, and I love that. But yeah, anyway. So the immortality, obviously, this is what we're basing it on, but he's also, not only is he immortal, because he has spent so much time on this planet, so much time conquering things and attacking people, he is very intelligent. He's a very, very good hand-to-hand combatant, and he also is a military strategist. And a lot of the storylines that he has been a part of have been more plot oriented, like he is the leader and strategist behind a plot. Although he does have his moments where he rips people's hearts out and like is vicious. So he is a warrior and he's a strategist. And currently, his kit really only reflects the warrior aspect of him. They tried to incorporate a little bit of the strategist in his AoE, but it didn't come out very well in a sense. And whatchamacallit. So yeah, it's just kind of not the greatest kit in the world. They barely touched his immortality, and we're gonna more harp on his immortality in our kit design. But yeah, that is him. Let's go through the abilities real quick, just so that we have a fully understanding of the current abilities. Fast cut, so they went with special damage because obviously he's an intelligent character, but most of his abilities they look physical in aspect, so we may or may not switch that. We'll decide later. Special damage to an enemy and gain 4 crit chance ups. Apply 70% extra damage if Vandal Savage is under 50% health. So, the crit chance ups I could kind of see being a thing, just because, if he's a very good hand-to-hand combatant, there's a good chance that he'll know like what spots to hit, where he can critically hit and do more damage. So I get that aspect of it, but I don't really understand the under 50% health thing. Like, obviously, if he's closer to death, he might like become more violent in trying to keep his like life alive, because I think in his very first iteration, he was immortal in the most simple sense, where he just doesn't die, but he can still be killed physically. So that might be a thing. But I don't really like pretty much any of this. So we're probably going to scrap most of it. Blood Sacrifice. This is kind of based, I think, on like the fact that he has to rely on his descendants in order to maintain his immortality over time. Because in a few storylines, his immortality weakens to the point where he cannot regenerate as well as he previously could. So he takes the organs from his descendants and replaces his own with them. Gain 3 mens and 4 int-ups. Applies special damage to a single enemy, and gain 4 crit chance ups. Mens are cool in certain team comps. I don't think it really fits here specifically. I'm not super big fan of mens in general, although it does really well. It does really well for like the Aqua characters, like Aquaman, Mera, Tula. Those are all very good mend-based characters, but I don't really think mens work for Savage. He's not fast enough. He doesn't have really a whole lot of sustain other than these mens, and I would prefer just a heal in general. So we'll probably switch that out as well. And then we gained 4 more crit chance ups on the legendary point. So also the point of this ability when he came out was the theme of the month was kind of like gaining buffs before the damage was dealt. And this animation kind of suits that as well because he like crushes the heart above himself before he attacks. So he's gaining the power up before he strikes. So we can keep that aspect of it just so that way we can maintain the integrity of the animation. Moving on, tactical expertise. This is what I was talking about. They tried to make him like strategy based a little bit on this ability, special damage to all enemies and apply buff immunity to the primary target. Allowing yourself to pick who you want to buff immune is kind of strategic in a way. It just isn't like great. Since most powerful characters right now are based on like heavy buff ramping, it almost makes it would be so much better if just everybody got buff immunity. Reset blood sacrifice cooldown if an enemy is killed. This ability doesn't do a lot of damage. Like you're using it essentially to either clear awarenesses or to apply the buff immunity. You're not really using this ability to kill someone. So I want to get rid of that reset cooldown if enemy is killed and replace it with something else. Cannibal. Passive ability, every time Savage deals damage, we purge 4 debuffs on him. And if the damage is critical, we purge 4 buffs from the target. So this is kind of playing a little bit on his crit ups that he's been getting. I don't really feel like crit is necessary for him right now, especially with Aquaman and all these like damage immunity based characters, like Superman as well. Like critting right now in this environment, even like Supergirl, there's so many anti-crit meta characters at the moment that critting is not something I want him to do anymore. Like I want him to be a strategist and a combatant. I want him not to worry about critting. I want him to worry about being versatile and adapting to what's nearby. Legendary point, gain 2 permanent crit chance ups when an enemy dies. That's, once again, we're going to get rid of a lot of the crit stuff in the kit. The Mark of Cain, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the, I think, most current adaptation of his immortality. They got rid of the alien technology and they kind of just threw in some like god stuff, essentially. 75% chance to gain death immunity at the end of every Vandal Savage turn if he is under 50% health. Start the battle with damage immunity. I pretty much hate all of this. The 50% health thing is kind of bullshit. He's not a very tanky character. He kind of dies pretty easily if he doesn't have his immunities. And I want to give him like a more reliable way to prevent his death and a more reliable way to make him feel like an actual immortal. So we're gonna keep the theme of immortality on this ability, but we're gonna replace the ability as a whole as far as this goes. So yeah, let's get into the kit that we designed. All right, here we go. So, the thematic and the design of the kit is largely based on a mystical character, obviously, that is just simply difficult to kill. He's going to be largely based on death immunity, so there's going to be a lot of death immunity in the kit. It might feel a little spammed, but I feel like it makes him truly feel like a real immortal character, and it's going to be very difficult to kill. It is possible to kill this character without bringing a purger, but it would just take a lot of time, essentially, to do so. Starting off with our basic ability, Fast Cut, right? I wanted him to still feel like they have this strategy base along with their combat base. So we're maintaining special damage, and I'll explain why in the next ability. But we're maintaining special damage to an enemy, and instead of gaining 4 crit chance ups, we're just going to purge 4 buffs, because purging buffs is pretty important, I feel like, in today's game. Like, there's so many ramp up characters that purging these buffs just, like, the amount of importance it is for to prevent your enemy from ramping is huge. So we're going to purge 4 buffs on the Fast Cut. The legendary point, if the target has death immunity, we're going to steal it and call an assist. So that, I think, actually could be really important as well, because excuse me, there's a lot of characters out there right now, like Superman and Barda. Trying to think of a few more. I mean, basically all the Kryptonians have death immunity. There's a couple more as well that I just can't think of off the top of my head, but they do have death immunity. Is not hard to come by in this game. So if you're up against a Superman, you can attack him with the basic, steal the death immunity, and then maybe one of your other teammates can come in, swoop in, and kill him effectively. So that'd be fun. Obviously, you still have to get around the damage immunity, because I'm not making his kit based on damage and death immunity, just death immunity. So that kind of leaves a little bit of balance out on the table, instead of just making him overpowered. Okay. Blood sacrifice. And this is the reason why we're maintaining our intelligence ups. One, obviously, because he's a smart, intelligent character, but also because we kind of threw in a lot of overheals into the kit as well. So we're gaining 5 intelligence ups with this ability and death immunity. This is his only active way to gain death immunity if your opponent does not have it. It's themselves. So we gain 5 int-ups and death immunity, just like how I wanted to keep the thematic of gaining the buff before we do the damage. And then we're applying the special damage after gaining the buffs to a single enemy, just kind of like how it is right now. And then our legendary point is we gain a large overheal. This way, like I said, it makes him feel like he's harder to kill. Okay, there's going to be a lot of comeback kid moments as well, because even if he is low HP, you can still gain death immunity and a large overheal at any time with this ability. So yeah, that's the blood sacrifice. That's how we're going to maintain our death immunity. Tactical expertise. This is kind of, I changed this one a little bit, but not a lot of it. We got rid of the reset blood sacrifice. While I think that could be cool if this ability was meant to do a lot of damage, it just doesn't. And if they rework him, I don't expect them really to change his gear set all that much. So we're going to maintain special damage to all enemies, but instead of applying buff immunity to the primary target as part of the regular ability, we're going to change that to purge all immunities from enemy team. And the reason why I want to do that is because obviously Peacemaker just came out and he has a 75% chance to purge all immunities. And honestly, I don't think that's enough, because with Terra existing, with Superman, Hal Jordan, all these immunities, especially debuff immunity is so prevalent right now. It's essentially making debuff teams irrelevant. It makes them like unviable. So having at least one character that can literally purge all immunities on the enemy team, I think is going to be crucial. And I would love it if it were Vandal Savage, because it would set him up essentially to be that strategy-based character, that military tactician, essentially. Remove their defenses so we can kill them better. That's essentially the level of tactician that I'm bringing to the Vandal Savage kit. And then we did maintain that apply buff immunity to the primary target. We just threw it in the legendary point, so that way, in the order of operations in the game, they like to do whatever the white text says first before applying whatever the legendary point says. So if we're using this ability, it should remove all of the immunities first before applying the buff immunity, allowing people who are debuff immune to still receive a buff immunity when using this ability. So yeah, that is our tactical expertise. Moving into Cannibal. This one is kind of similar to the Joker Crown Prince of Crime ability, where when an enemy dies, we're going to gain the death immunity. So it's a passive way to gain death immunity this time. A medium overheal. So once again, that intelligence stat that we're maintaining, we're keeping in the kit, is going to be super important within all the healing spectrum of him. But he only heals himself. He does not heal anybody else. And then purge 10 debuffs from self. So it's kind of like a just a nice healthy amount of sustain, essentially. We're getting a heal, we're getting a death immunity, we're purging all these crappy debuffs off of ourselves. So if there's like a doom buried underneath of a bunch of crit damage downs from Supergirl, we can kind of have better luck with removing all those debuffs on ourselves. And then our legendary point is we're also purging 3 buffs from each enemy, and that kind of maintains the original passive here that we have, where it says we're purging 4 debuffs on self, and we're purging 4 debuffs, or 4 target buffs on target. So that way, we're still maintaining the original theme of this ability. We're just switching it to become a better version of it. So yeah, that is Cannibal. And then Mark of Cain. This is kind of where we really, really make him feel like an immortal and really hard to kill. When Vandal Savage reaches 0 HP, we have a 75% chance to prevent our death and use blood sacrifice, and it's guaranteed to happen at least one time. So that way, we gain that large overheal, we gain the death immunity, and 5 intelligence ups, and we also kind of strike back at the opponent at the same time. So instead of dying, we get a massive boost of sustain, and we lash back out at the enemy, and that's where it's going to really feel like he is an immortal. Excuse me. At the end of every turn, here's where it gets interesting. At the end of every turn, if Savage has death immunity, which he has plenty of opportunities to receive death immunity, if Savage has death immunity, we gain 1 empowered intelligence up. And I didn't want this to be broken. I could have done it where it's at the end of every enemy turn or at the end of every ally turn. I did do at the end of every turn because I do want him to be able to actually stack these up. We gain 1 empowered intelligence up, and mainly because I have yet to see empowered intelligence up in the game, and I would think it would be really fun to put it on Savage. And we only gain 1. And you know what? Honestly, this could have an RNG chance. Like if WB wanted to balance this, all they have to do is put like 75% chance to gain 1 empowered intelligence up at the end of every turn if Savage has death immunity. It is gated. He has to have death immunity in order to gain the intelligence up. But yeah, it could probably be gated a little bit more. We could tone it down a little bit if WB wants to. I don't really want to because I love Savage. But yeah, that is the kit of our beautiful Vandal Savage. Let me know what you think. I'll put the kit up again. Here's the kit one more time, the full kit. If you enjoyed this little soiree of history of Vandal Savage and DCL strategy, rework, design making, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you think my kit is too powerful or too unbalanced. That's fine. We can talk about it. But yeah, this was enjoyable for me. I got to rehash some old Vandal Savage stuff that I knew about and didn't know about at the same time. And yeah, it was fun to make this kit up. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.